Boundaries are a huge topic when it comes to women's empowerment. And I want to dive into three very important tips that can help you set and maintain them. If we haven't met before, my name is Christina, and I help women find their words, feel heard, and step into their power. I've been in the self development space for over 15 years, and I'm passionate about teaching you the practical how to's of being assertive in a way that you can learn how to do it in a way much faster than it took me to learn. So, real quick, can you just tell me where you are watching this from? I like to see where in the country people find this video or where around the world people are coming into my little corner of Facebook. Let's see. All right. So let me just go ahead and dive in and give you these three tips. So the first thing I want to tell you is it is quite possible that you may need to reframe how you think about boundaries. And the biggest thing here, I struggled with this, and I see a lot of people around me who struggle with this, which is why, like, this is number one. We don't have to ask for permission or justify when it comes to asking for what we need or drawing a line in the sand, essentially. Something that I don't know that we all realize is the more we ask for permission or the more we justify, the more that we're actually signaling to the other person that our boundaries are unstable, or we think that what we want doesn't matter. And so when we just say, hey, would you mind not calling me after 9 p.m.? Period. Not asking for permission, not justifying. The other person is like, oh, okay. Whatever the reason is, you, the speaker, you don't want to be called after 9 p.m. And they might ask, it's up to you whether you want to say something, but you don't have to. Another, somebody asked me recently, I said, I want to keep the conversations to text or email. And the person said, I'm going to need to know a reason why. Because I said so. Because that's all I have time for. Because I don't like talking to you, but I'm too nice to say. But if I just say, I would rather do this. And I think we have to be careful too, not to say something like, can you, or if it's okay with you, because again, that just shows that we are not stable in the boundary, so how can we expect them to be stable in the boundary? And justifying, explaining, asking for permission, the more we do that, the more we're telling ourselves, like, yeah, that's a nice to have, but it's not a need to have, even though it really is a need to have. Maybe, you put the kids down to bed at 9, maybe, or 10 o'clock, and the phone ringing, even if it's just your cell phone, is gonna ruin everything. And they don't need to know why. Again, can you not call me after 9 p.m.? Solid. Very solid. Not when you remember, if you think about it. And I'm using those examples because I used to be that way. If it's not too much trouble, and yet it was something that, like, no, but really I need this. There are some things that you can ask and say, hey, if you think about it while you're at the store, can you get me? But that's not a boundary either. What we're talking about here is a boundary. Can you ask me before you come over to my house? How many of you Side note, but this is such a valid example. How many of you have family members that just stop by? And it's like, if you knew you were coming, could you tell me that you're coming at least? Give me that 15 minutes ahead of time as opposed to just ringing the doorbell. Your boundary is, this is my home. Can you let me know ahead of time? As opposed to, if you think about it, I think you're getting my drift, right? Okay, so let's move on to tip number 2. Putting up a boundary isn't selfish. It's actually a way for us to put our own mask, our own oxygen mask on before we help others. So, let's just continue with that, either late night phone calls or whatever. Let's say, I know for sure, for absolute sure, I need to be in bed by 10 p.m. because I know I'm waking up at 5 a.m. It just is. I need 7 hours of sleep. It's not selfish for me to think about, like, no, when I don't get at least 7 hours of sleep, my functioning for the rest of the day is horrible. I can't help you. I can't answer whatever question you have or pick up this extra task that you're needing help with if I'm already low on gasoline or whatever. Side note, I just thought about this, and might be a tangent, I don't know, but I'm here having this conversation with you. Did you know that setting your do not disturb feature on your smartphone can be a way of setting up a boundary? Your phone is going to buzz at you and buzz at you and buzz at you, and people are going to send you messages. And maybe you can't catch every single person and say, hey, by the way, I go to bed by 10 o'clock, and then people aren't going to remember that. But your phone being on do not disturb is a boundary. You maybe also not going in and checking your emails after a certain time or before a certain time if you have a certain routine. That's practicing for you your own boundary. Okay, side note. Okay. Now this one is it's not tricky. There's a little bit more to this one, I think. So this is tip number 3. Remember, we have no control over how the other person is going to respond or how they're going to feel. And this is a couple layers deep, a different type of boundary. I used to be this way, and I know people that I talk to that are this way, that they're afraid to ask for something that they need because they don't want to make the other person upset. But that's us overreaching. That's us trying to control them. That's us crossing into their lane, into their boundary. We can ask for what we need, and then it's not up to us whether they are fine with it, neutral, or if they're a little miffed about it, or if they have a problem with it. We can maybe have a discussion at some point, but just asking for what you need, after that, it's not yours. Your job is just to put it out there, right? What I see sometimes is people want to delay or avoid conflict and just say, well, like, I already know how she's going to react. You may know that person very well, and it might be likely that they're not happy with something that you're going to say, a boundary that you want to assert. But is that for you to decide? What if their version of being upset is just them having a reaction, but then they're okay with it? Now, not to be confused with if I tell my spouse, my significant other, this and I give them this boundary and then it turns toxic and then they, fly off the deep end, that's a different story. That is. But in a normal relationship with people you love, who you know love you back, these people care about you. And this is personal. It could also be work related. It could be friendships. If they respect you, it's not gonna be such a, okay, another, like I said, another little bit of a tangent. Um, if the person loves you, respects you, all these things, they will at least be willing to work with you. If they're not, depending on how you brought it up and all those things, consider what that says about your relationship. And not that you need to be cutting out everybody from your life who doesn't respond in a favorable way, but it's something to consider. So, I get into this topic actually in more depth, a little bit more detail, and I answer and talk about a few different scenarios on a podcast that I was recently a guest in. So wherever you get your podcasts, you can search for the Country Proud Living podcast. My friend Lori Lynn is the host, and you're going to be looking for episode number 49. And it came out in February, so we're looking at it from the lens of romantic relationships. But it really is just a good discussion about how do we set boundaries in a loving way. And then we also go into where does self-worth come in, and how is our self-worth tied into our boundaries or lack of boundaries, and which one comes first or what not and the other. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there. I also wanted to let you know, if you have a little bit of an issue with bringing this up, or, in the moment you're kind of stuck and you're just like, I know I want to assert a boundary, but I can't quite get over that hump, I made a free resource for you. It's called 5 Powerful Affirmations to Speak Confidently. And I will put the link down in the comments so that you can access that. I personally came up with these 5 affirmations after I looked at all of the different scenarios that I've had to work on, the different relationships I've had in my life, personal, business, significant other, all the things. And I really, really think that saying these affirmations to yourself on a daily basis, even if it's just once a day, can really help you start to reframe how you see your own voice, your self-worth. And going back to tip number 1, when I talk about reframing how we think about boundaries, which is tied into what we think of ourselves and our self-worth. So again, I'm going to put that link down in the comments. It is the link is christina-solis.com/affirm, AFFIRM. All right. I hope this was a valuable conversation to get you thinking about boundaries. I think we all know that they're important, but how exactly do we go from never really been, we just have never laid boundaries, and how do we start doing it? Or maybe we've done it before, but in one relationship and not in another, right? Okay, if you got any value from this, and if you're watching this to the end, can you just leave me like a hands up emoji or a hi emoji, and I'd love to come back and say hi to you. All right, talk to you soon.